Conservatory says an additional 17% of Europe has reached the threshold at which vegetation suffers. For more on the impact of these droughts on the world's food supply, I'm joined by Zituni Ul-Dada, Deputy Director from the Food and Agriculture Organization at the UN. Thank you for joining us here on Impact. Despite years of warnings, it seems that our food supplies are not able to cope now with this increased climate crisis. Is that right?
Well, indeed, we've been warned about this situation for many years by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, telling us that climate change is affecting every part of the world, and the situation is going to get worse unless we take immediate and large action. So this is not surprising that we are in this situation, and we're going to see more frequent and intense extreme weather events. And obviously, the main thing from this is that extreme weather events affect food production and affect food security. Around the world, we depend on three main crops, really: wheat, maize, and rice. And all these are vulnerable to changes in weather conditions. So the current situation we're living now is affecting food security and will continue to do so unless we take immediate action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions around the world and to adapt to the new reality of climate change, because unfortunately we left it so late, so we have no choice but to adapt to the impact of climate change. So the impact on food security will increase unless we take immediate action and big action.
Well, you talk about taking immediate action, but how quickly will that follow through? I'm just thinking about the assurances, for example, that Narendra Modi of India gave to Joe Biden just a few months ago, saying, don't worry, we will fill that shortage in terms of wheat supplies and rice supplies, and then, of course, slapped an export ban on it because he couldn't actually feed his own country.
Well, we have to think about, obviously, food security around the world. The food systems are complex, they're interconnected. Around the world, unfortunately, we have today around 828 million people who go hungry, and yet we have enough food to feed everyone. And the COVID-19 has pushed around 150 million more people into hunger. So we have to think across the board. We have to think about the whole agri-food systems, the whole chain, to make sure that they're efficient, resilient, sustainable, and inclusive. Because unfortunately, we still also waste a lot of food that we produce for human consumption. The third of the food that we produce for us as the humans to consume is thrown away. And with that, we throw away the energy, the water, the nutrients, the effort that goes into producing that. So the whole agri-food system needs to be transformed.
OK, sorry to interrupt. We're just looking at some pictures here, some library of cows, dairy production, of course. Now, they need a lot of water as well, don't they? So it's not just the yields on wheat and maize and sunflowers, for example, which are falling. It's consumption of meat and dairy.
Absolutely. I mean, agriculture uses around 70% of the withdrawn water. So that's why agriculture is very vulnerable to climate change. And at the same time, agriculture is also an important solution to the climate crisis and the biodiversity crisis. So we have to invest more in innovation. We have to harness the power of innovation. As I said, we have no choice now but to adapt to the reality. So in the case of water, we have to become more efficient. We have to think differently of how we use water. At the moment, we still waste water, actually. So we really think about efficiency and sustainability. And in the case of agriculture, there is a lot of potential for savings. There is a lot of potential for efficiency. We have to invest more in nature, in ecosystem restoration. So not just in production, we have to look at the whole chain.
OK, but I come back, again, I apologise for interrupting, but I come back to my central point is how quickly can these changes be imposed, made and see some sort of benefit for the world? The way you're talking at the moment suggests we're looking at 5, 10, 15 years ahead when we might not have that period of time, given how catastrophic things are at the moment, combined with conflict in Ukraine.
That's right. I mean, we should have acted quickly ages ago. That's why now we're in a situation where we need to act quicker. We have no choice. So all the policies and measures.
Forgive me, how quickly will we see the results of that?
Well, if you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, we need to achieve them by 2030, so in 8 years. And in terms of climate change, we need to halve the emissions by 2045 and come to carbon neutrality by 2050. But this is a gradual effort that needs to happen, because even if we stop all the emissions today, climate change will continue. What we've seen now, the impact of that will continue. So to answer your question, how quickly, every little effort helps. And this is what the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change says. Every fraction of a degree is important and makes a difference. That's why every action we need to take is important. And here I want to highlight one important point. We talk about policies and measures and regulation, but we as people also have a responsibility. We have to take responsibility as citizens on how we interact with food, how we interact with the environment in general, and take responsibility so we don't waste food, so we don't waste water, so we use natural resources wisely, because we need to put sustainability at the heart of everything we do. All our lifestyles, we need to rethink that. We need to change our mindset. It's absolutely critical that we do that. And for government and businesses, we need to change the business model. We can't continue producing and using and growing food in the way we've been doing. We have to think more about efficiency, sustainability, and resilience to shocks. Climate change, the pandemic, and the war in Ukraine. We have to rethink of how we produce food so that we have resilient and efficient systems.
Okay, Zitouni Ould Dada, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on Impact.
Thank you.